You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird brain. It's a plane. It's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter. Strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hey everyone, this is Walter from iWalter. It's now November 2nd. It is officially Monday. I believe elections are coming up this Tuesday, which will be tomorrow. My time right now is, I'm looking at it, is 12:20 a.m. Yeah, we're on daylight savings time too. Yeah, I was off for a couple days because I actually did go see quite a lot of films. Spend most of my weekend, this holiday weekend. I call it a holiday weekend with my friend Matt. He had invited me to one of his, I guess, clients. He's a music teacher. One of the people that he teaches music lessons to, an older woman, very nice, not much older than me. To her Halloween party at her house. So it was very nice of him to do that. So that was, Saturday night for Halloween. And then Friday night we went on a train ride. You know what? I did this again. I should have looked it up. Excuse me for a minute while I do this. If I can remember how. Because actually here, another friend, so to speak. It's a guy that his name, it's not important. I don't know if I should mention it. Friend of my friend Matt. He works on my friend Matt's web pages and stuff, or designs them. Was actually at this same event that I actually, I should say my friend Matt and I had attended on Friday night. So I didn't think about actually checking it up though, or checking the name, or, mentioning the name. I didn't think about that. So maybe I will. So that's why, I always do this every single time. I got a couple different stories. Some of them actually I just pulled up this recently, just because they were kind of interesting. But my friend's friend, or a friend, he's actually a friend of mine on Facebook. A really nice guy named Monty. He went to this train ride. It's Coal Rail or something. It was in Boyertown. I actually didn't think it was too bad. First I was a little skeptic, but I think the best part was I love taking pictures, so I was able to take pictures. So that part I didn't mind at all. But I'm just trying to find this train ride thing. Let's see if I can find it. So I apologize, Boyertown, because it actually is on. It's got its own link. I wonder if I can just type it in, because it actually is. No, so I apologize. I should have had this kind of lined up. This was one story I could have did a little bit better job of lining it up. Because I actually liked their link for this. Again, I've seen a couple films I wanted to mention too. I really don't want to put this at a... Let me just do a Boyertown train thing. Train. That actually did work. So apologize for that break. It's actually called the Colindale Railroad. I guess I honestly can say me and my friend and I, we're not real big train aficionados like some people are. But if you are, I think you would really enjoy it. most people either, well, I won't say most, I think it's a split down the middle. Either like it or don't like it. It's kind of a short ride, honestly. But the thing is, it's the money goes towards if you decide to do this Colindale train ride up in Boyertown. It's right on the main street of Boyertown. It's basically for people who do enjoy trains and want to restore these old trains. And I kind of don't mind, personally, I don't mind giving money towards it because I had some fun taking some photos. It was a night ride. It was called a hay ride, even though it was on a train. But the whole purpose is it's for people, you're kind of keeping alive, I would feel, part of our history with these trains. And, they do it all year round because I'm looking right now, mainly just weekends. Actually, 1 week, it looks like in December, they're running it for Christmas. Because they have a calendar on their web link, too. I'll try to give that to people, too, at least mention it. But for November, it's the weekends, except the weekend of Black Friday. It looks like that's going to be only Sunday. But if you go to Colindale Railroad.com, you will find information on that. Generally, it's about $22 any given day if you go. I'm trying to look right now. Maybe, actually, wait. This one particular weekend in November, it's actually going to be $45. So we didn't pay that much. We actually paid a lot less. Oh, no wonder why, because it's actually dinner on the train. So that's why. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, they try to do different things. It has a dinner cart. Again, it's on the train, so that's kind of neat. Now, on a regular weekend, I'm trying to look at the price. No, well, we made out well. Me and my friend and I, we only paid $22. Average is about $27. But just to give people a heads up on the prices. So I guess we lucked out in October, and it was the day before Halloween, which is kind of weird. I'm trying to look for any given day. Yeah, it's about $27. But it's kind of neat. It's just, it's kind of fun and in a certain way. If they have a meal on the train, that'd be kind of neat to do. I wouldn't mind doing that, even at $27. My friend said the next time I ever decide to do this, he said, exclude him from it, which I understand, But you know what? I can't. When I mentioned this, we had this discussion, my friend and I, yesterday. I only speak in general, like I did an interview on there too, on this Colindale train ride and some other things. I try to keep an open mind on things, basically meaning that maybe I don't agree with certain trips, but I try to not qualify what type of excursion I go on in case somebody else may think it's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. So I try to keep an open mind in that way. I don't want to say, well, obviously I guess my friend believes that, well, you should, speak your mind and not be so, I guess, wishy-washy. That's probably not the word he would use. I'm using that. But I kind of I try to be considerate on maybe somebody else. I'm not going to say, well, this is the worst thing. I don't think you should do this. And then somebody else comes along and say, well, what are you talking about? I thought this was really cool. So, not that I have money to spend or, to just basically give away. I really don't, because I've been out of work for 3 weeks. Start next week will be my 4th week. But I'm looking at it because they have these, which I wouldn't do it even this coming this coming weekend, not this one that passed. They're doing one dinner in the Secret Valley at this Colindale Railroad thing. So they try to do different things, and basically you eat your meal on the train, and it says refreshments a la carte by train may include draft soda, old-fashioned soda, Pennsylvania Dutch taste, still packaged in bottles, all handcrafted since 1921. I'm just reading what it says. Root beer, creamy red birch beer, vanilla cream, sarsaparilla, and bottled water, cookies, and baked treats. Now, it says menu, what it has is classic Caesar salad, breadsticks, baked Zeta, and meatballs. So it's probably like one of those, basically kept warm through burners. But, I mean, hey, it's something different. Bow tie pasta, chicken broccoli with pink Alfredo sauce, dessert choice of cannoli, cream puffs, and eclair, drinks choice of coffee, tea, or water, a la carte, red and white wines, ciders, ales, and beers. We might have eaten here at some Italian restaurant. I think we might have, a pizza shop might be actually catering too. So, hey, you know what? It sounds pretty cool. I mean, if you have want to do something different, I would say, why not try it out? I'm looking to look at the prices. Dining cart, open cart, 0 seats available. So this actually probably did sell out. For certain times. But the tickets are like $28. You might as well say it's $27.50. $27 later at night. But it's pretty cool. I mean, again, it might not be what most people want to do, but it sounds kind of interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to keep open mind or an open weekend if I'm still off from work. I don't know yet because on a whim, there was some stuff down in the city that I wanted to go to actually on the 13th because I'm not going to be going any longer. I guess there was a Friday the 13th event I mentioned before, which actually did fill up, so I won't be able to go. Me and a friend wanted to get a ticket, and it sold out in less than a minute. It was actually where they shot the very first film of Friday the 13th. So, that being said, it was kind of fun, I guess. One thing I noticed that I wasn't complaining about at all, for once, was there's a lot of these horror movies that, I prefer almost, if I don't buy them, like, physically. Streaming's not such a bad choice to go because you're not, piling up movies in your house that way. And, for the amount of times you're going to watch it, it's not that bad of an idea. So there's a couple that were like only like $4 and stuff. It's cheaper than renting them. I mean, that's actually to buy them. Like, I bought this film, the original Evil Dead, which the original movie, the first one from Sam Raimi, was actually really scary. It actually was quite scary in my opinion. The second one was more like it scared you because I saw the second one the first time around. I didn't buy it, but I did buy it over the years more than once probably. The second Evil Dead, I remember seeing in the movie theater, and I saw saw the film in the afternoon. I was actually so exhausted just because it kept you kind of on the edge of your seat, but I guess the way it was filmed, it almost reminded me of like going through one of those fun houses where either you walk through or you go through one of those railroad, whatever you call it, cart type things. They roll you through and things jump out at you. Well, that's what it felt like when I had seen Evil Dead 2 back when it came out. I think that was in the 80s. I was living in an apartment at the time, and there was this movie theater, a dollar theater that was right around my house, and that movie was brand new. It just came out. I was like, yeah, I got to go check this out. And it's like literally across the street from where I live. I could walk there because I didn't have a car back then. And honestly, it just kept me going the whole time that I actually had to go home. I was so exhausted. So the second one was scary, but at the same time, it was like, again, it reminded me of a fun house. It left it open for the third movie, which at that point I was kind of really disappointed because they made it pure, satire, pure comedy. I don't know what else to say. And I was heavily disappointed. Which, by the way, Saturday, I keep on saying last night, the days just run together for me anymore. But Saturday night was actually, they showed it all day and all night. Probably more all night. It was only a half-hour show, but Ash versus the Evil Dead, which I actually wanted to go watch but I don't have the channel it comes on, which is Stars. And that was kind of a disappointment there because I'm going to take a swallow. I was thirsty. Sorry about that. I actually wanted to see Ash versus the Evil Dead, but honestly, yeah, what was I going to say? I just couldn't bring myself to, well, I would have to download it illegally. I was going to pay for it. Like, if there was a way I could just possibly pay for the show, I would, buy a season pass from Hulu or Netflix, which is I already have, or iTunes. I would have done it, but they don't. So it was like, okay, well, then I'll just have to download it, unfortunately, illegally on this thing called Kick-Ass. And it was like, I looked on there, and I was ready to do it. And I was like, you know what? Is this really worth me losing my internet? I haven't had any problems for the past year, maybe even actually longer. And do I want to take the risk that a show like that just started and, just play the people who, run Stars want you to buy Stars on cable, and there's no way around that. Do I want to take the risk, download something illegally, and end up getting in trouble for doing so? And I thought about it. I was like, well, actually, not really. I'll wait, and when the time comes, I'll just have to watch it when the show's done for, if it makes it through one season, and at that point decide, okay, by that time it'll be free on Netflix. Not free, but it'll be part of what I pay for every month that I never use on Netflix, or just get it on iTunes or something else. So the more I thought about it, it's like, it's not worth losing, basically my internet service over. So I decided I'll just hold out for now. Speaking of which, on shows I have actually purchased, I don't know, I never thought I would come to this point, but I grew up with the show Doctor Who since I was a kid. I'll talk about it every once in a while. Well, here's one of those times. Now, these aren't any of the movies I went and seen. I actually lost track. I'm going to have to look on my tickets because I actually purchased pretty much mostly all of them on Fandango. So let me do that right now. But anyway, as I'm looking for that, I was really disappointed on Doctor Who. In fact, last night I was up late enough I could have watched it from that day. Ooh, Meet Harley Quinn. Huh. I better turn down my volume now. But 30-page Oscar review, Harley Quinn. Huh. That sounds pretty good. Anyway, sorry, I easily lost my train of thought in more ways than one. But, I kind of held out. I wasn't that interested in seeing Doctor Who right away. So I watched it this afternoon. I decided also I was taking my parents out. I'll pay for their meal because today was yesterday's. I apologize. I keep on messing up the days. Yesterday was my parents' anniversary. So I figured, you know what? I'll take them out to eat. So I was waiting for them. They went to a movie yesterday. I did it again. They went to a movie yesterday, and I figured, well, I'll have them, call me when they get out, and I'll say, you know what, wherever you're going to eat, let me know, and I'll pay for your meal, and I did. So, while I was waiting, I watched the Doctor Who from Saturday night, and when I was watching, it was like, I knew it was going to be really bad. It's not like the Doctor Who I grew up with when I grew up with it and started watching in the late 70s, early 80s, through the 80s, and, whenever it was put on again. It was just, it was amazing. Once again, it didn't disappoint me to be a disappointment. So I'm like watching. I knew it was going to be really bad. It had these things called the Zygons on. They were like a creature from the actor Tom Baker, and it was a major disappointment. It was like beyond horrible, and it was like, okay, this is going to probably be the last time. I always say this stuff, and then I contradict myself. But this time, I might be on to something where I might get to the point that, the show has gotten so horribly written and horribly filmed, or whatever you want to call it, Doctor Who, I'm going to actually have to stop, buying these season passes to watch this. I mean, this is a show I've been watching for almost 40 years, since I was a kid. And I finally got to the point that it's like, this is beyond bad. This is just really... I mean, I thought there was this actor named Sylvester McCoy. I couldn't stand him. He was horrible. And I thought that was like... I did stop watching it for a few years, but I think it's getting to that point again. It's just... Unless they get better writers for the show. I mean, like, because people I know, who have watched Star Trek all their life, since like the mid-'60s, still watch Star Trek today. They'll go see the movies. They're, watch the different programs that, have, came about from the original series, the whole universe of Star Trek. That's because the shows are written better. And the movies are well put together or executed, whatever. But I can't say that for the people who write these episodes and pick these, people that play the main character or anybody else. They're really poorly put together, this show. And I mean, I'm glad in one way the show has existed for this long or been brought back. But even when it started, it was much better than it is now. I didn't mind Christopher Eccleston or David Tennant, but it seemed to just go, on this downwards spiral that the shows have gotten completely awful. So anyway, I just wanted to, I don't know where I came up with this, but I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, since I've been off, I've been able to spend more time going to films that I normally would not have time to go see. I'm trying to figure out where it started, because I'm looking at the films I purchased tickets for my family and my parents and I should say. And it started with actually Jaws from TMC, which, by the way, they showed some really good classic horror movies that I've never even heard of, black and white ones. And a lot of them were really, really good. My parents and I seen these films together, most of them. But the first one was Jaws, the 40th anniversary. That went back in June. And then there was Raiders of the Lost Ark. My mother never saw it, but me and my father did, so we saw it a second time together. Then there was a Doctor Who, which I don't want to even mention. My parents and I had saw the original, again by TMC, Psycho. It was presented by TMC. I wouldn't be able to do this if I was working. I was able to go to the Back to the Future trilogy, which I really enjoyed. And then I purchased a ticket to Paranormal Activity, which I mentioned before. That was excellent. I really liked that film. It definitely made me jump. And then my parents and I, once again, this was probably almost 30-some years from when we originally saw it together, was John Carpenter's Halloween, which was kind of surprising, as that was actually sold out. Not sold out. It actually was close. Almost every seat was filled. So not completely wrong. Now, in between there, I wasn't going to do this, but I bought, like at the movie theater, I was going to see if I could use one of my movie passes, which I did not. Which I don't know if I mentioned, as I saw both the Bela Lugosi movies. I think Bela Lugosi, I'm sorry, and the Spanish version of, I don't know if I said this correctly, so I'm going to start over again. I'm really, when I'm off for a couple days, I'm a mess, more so than normal. But they had this special from TMC, and I did mention this before. I remember I did a show just specifically on that. It was on Bela Lugosi, 1931 of Dracula, where at the exact same time they had shot a version in Spanish with Spanish actors on the same sets. So I liked that so much, the Spanish version. I liked it so much I actually was able to find it online. I think it was like $10 on Blu-ray for both copies, because that just came out this year. And yes, I was watching that. I really, really enjoyed that. So, yeah, I can't say enough. That was actually something I will watch again. By the way, it was a friend of mine. Her name's Dana. Poor girl has cerebral palsy, and I know she's sometimes in more pain than others, but she actually did put something up. I did share it on my Facebook page. She gave a Halloween history link, which I borrowed from her, and it was kind of interesting. So I honestly did not read it, but it does give you a little bit of history on what Halloween's all about. So I had to throw that in there. I'm going through my stories as I see them, like I normally do. I'm going to try not to read them. This one really bothered me. It was on newownnext.com, and its logo that I think, there's certain things that I got to say, okay, this is enough. And this one really bothered me, and it was on the logo. It's the gay channel. I don't know how else to put it, but this poor man, he was gay, and, I don't care what people think, but this poor guy got beaten now technically to death because he died. He got beaten so bad. The guy wasn't bothering anybody. And I saw this article. It was a couple days ago, I guess. It was October 29th. And I can't even, honestly, I cannot look at his picture, but this man is like a pure vegetable. He was so severely beaten, which now he died from. They had to put a hole in his throat to help him breathe, I guess. He has a tube up his neck. And he literally, his skull on the one side was smashed in because they show a picture of what he looked like before he got severely beaten just for being a homosexual. And it's like, that is where I have to say that's enough. This is where you got to draw the line with people who are haters of some sort. And I mean, yes, it is. I can barely look at the picture because it's just that horrible to see this poor man. The way he was beaten so bad, the side of his skull is like got an indentation. I'm not even kidding. It says gay man ruthlessly, sorry about that, I can't get that word out right. Beaten to a vegetative state, dies after 17 months battle for life. His attacker is roaming free after an 11-month prison sentence. Well, that guy should get his skull fucking beaten in, the guy who beat this poor guy up. I'm sorry. It says a Virgil and demonstration took place in New York City today to express the outrage over the death of a 33-year-old man who was brutally beaten. It says in Mosque last year, Misk. I thought it was Mosque, but it looks like in a Misk last year simply for being gay. Said he died, this was dated on the 29th, and he said he died on a Tuesday after doctors were forced to remove 20% of his brain in an attempt to save him. Yeah, honestly, I can't read any more of this, and I apologize. Well, yeah, this is just, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't particularly agree with homosexuality, but at the same time, it doesn't give me the right to physically, for no reason at all, to beat the shit out of somebody. That makes no sense. I mean, this poor man. I hate to say it, but my heart really does go out for this guy. I mean, he did not do anything to anybody else, and that he paid with his life. So I really needed to bring that to light. I felt it was like, for me, I felt like I needed to. A little lighter note, because I mean, again, I'm just going in the order I have these stories posted. And by the way, it's funny. Let me check. I'm going to turn around for a minute. Yeah, there's this channel called, if you have whatever cable station, it's called Decades. I never even heard of it before. They're doing a marathon on the original series of Dark Shadows. They got the black and white ones on as I'm doing my show. This Daily Mail story was from it was October 30th. It says an incredible California dad transforms a paralyzed son's wheelchair into a Star Wars Snowspeeder Halloween costume. And the kid looks like he's really contented with it. And it's really cute. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. This kid, he's a paraplegic, and his dad made his wheelchair, over top of it. He's done other things for him, too, for his son. But this year he changed into like I said, a Snowspeeder. from Star Wars, and it looks really cool. He really did a good job, and his son looks really quite happy. I mean, that's cool. You take this poor kid's misfortune, at least one day a year or maybe more, he can have some turn it into something that takes his mind off his misfortune. This kid's. It says Ryan Scott Miller's son Jeremy has spina bifida, a birth defect that occurs when the spine doesn't properly develop in the womb. Ryan built a Snowspeeder out of foam board, PVC pipes, spray paint, bicycle brakes, and duct tape. It looks really good, too. It took him about 2 weeks to construct in his spare time, and he had designed it from a toy model and photos he found on the internet. The Snowspeeder also features working flaps and shoots out Nerf darts filled with glow sticks. That's really cool. Ryan has been building incredible costumes for his son for years, including Captain America, America's motorcycle, a Batmobile, and a pirate ship. You can see all this stuff. It's on my Facebook and obviously on the Daily Mail. That is so cool. I got to look at this now. They got Star Wars Alter Ego. It was linked, and I can't afford this stuff. They are really cool looking. Those compression shirts, but now they got ones for, I'm trying to think of the right word. For the Star Wars hype that's been going on. They even got one of Darth Vader. It looks really cool though. They are pretty comfortable, these compression shirts, so I'll just put that. I can't afford this stuff. I always say, and then, well, Walter, you buy all this stuff. Yeah, you're right, I do. Yeah, there was something. I had a couple movies I was mentioned. I just started to with, but then I told you about the train ride, and then I went to this thing. Trying to think of other movies I had seen, and actually there was some I rented. Like again, I purchased for $4. I just purchased The Evil Dead, the original one, which I did not get through because that movie really does give me nightmares. It's pretty scary. I enjoy it. It's fun. I look at these movies for the artwork too, or way they're shot film wise. Anyway, this popped up right now. No puns intended for the Daily Mail, and it says. I had this in my mix. It's kind of cute almost. Feline scared. Morris the kitten balances preciously on a pile of bags after getting his head stuck in a door 3 feet off the ground. This little cat, poor cat, got its head stuck in the door. Like the doorknob was not in there and the cat put its head through. Cats are pretty funny. It says the bullet points are Morris, a 4-month-old kitten, got his head trapped into a hole in the door. He was left balancing on a pile of bags in spare room. One slip from death. Basically, if he would lose this poor kitten, if it lost its balance or what's underneath of it, the cat would basically hang itself. Definitely break its neck. His owner awoke in his terrified meowing and called fire brigade for help. The firefighters carefully cut a hole in the door frame and managed to rescue the kitten. And it's got some different pictures of them doing that. It's kind of a cute story. Poor cat, though. Kitten. I wanted to tell you, because I did rent a couple stories, too. Okay, because I got my volume on. I got to make sure. It's going to pull up on my thing. Oh, this one I was like really. I hope that doesn't come up because I was there was a video linked to this one thing. Man killed in a freeway rollover crash and ejected onto the freeway sign. Now get this: this freeway sign was like 20 or 30 feet high off the ground. This was in Burbank, so that's like Burbank is basically you're talking Los Angeles, California. You're basically mentioning by saying that. I'm trying to think. Hollywood. So yeah, this guy was at such a high speed, which I hear they do drive very fast. And it says Glendale, actually, California. It was on Fox 11 update. The driver has been identified as a 20-year-old Richard Panana. Well, anyway, Burbank. So Burbank, yes, that's Hollywood. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and he was ejected. And it says somewhere, freeway, that propelled him onto a 20-foot tail freeway sign, authorities said. So they had to get a ladder, and the guy was obviously dead. But he was traveling so fast that it was a one-car accident. He ejected himself in the car. It actually flipped. And by the car flipping, he also flung himself out of the car. And it was, again, a one-car accident, and they had to get a ladder to take his body out of the, the overpass signs you see above. I just think that's crazy. I mean, we get people like that around here, but I don't know even if they're that nuts. I just thought, you know what? I forgot to check the date. If I open it up again, it might have been posted on the 30th. So I'll leave it go there because I'm afraid if I open that link again, it's going to cause a disaster. But yeah, I did rent a couple movies that I wanted to see in the movie theaters, but they never came out. I don't know if I mentioned, I did see this movie called The Visit. I think I did, just because that was a film by M. Night Shyamalan that was shot locally. And I thought it was pretty good. I actually did. By the way, I've been pulling a lot of stories off of this Fox 11 News. A friend of mine, he gets his stories off of here. And before I go into these movies I rented, police statement says, woman stripped, poured ketchup on herself at a diner. This was Miami Beach, Florida. Police had arrested a woman that they said laid naked on a table in South Beach diner and poured ketchup on herself. Well, it depends what she looked like. Maybe I would have helped clean it off for her, and I won't say how. Val was, because I'm kind of cutting through, was gone when officers arrived, but located her. A 23-year-old Val was arrested Thursday. She did not respond to a telephone message left to her on Friday. Witnesses told, I'm going back to the beginning almost. Police, a topless angelic Val turned over tables and chairs at Johnny Rockets earlier this month. Then, well, that was last month now. Then removed the bottom of her bikini before climbing onto a table and pouring ketchup on herself. Says one of the patrons told the police he grabs a chair to make a barrier. Other male diners encircled her and waited for police. So the woman was probably obviously a bit crazed, but I guess people were making sure she wouldn't hurt herself as somebody called the police. Yeah, I'm pulling up these. Oh, my parents might have mentioned this might be the same story, but this was actually in San Dimas. I don't know where that is. It's on Fox 11. 4 injured after Mercedes plows into a Party City store in San Dimas. A 14-year-old girl suffered moderate injuries, and 3 other people suffered mild injuries Saturday when a Mercedes crashed into Party City in San Dimas. Sheriff's lieutenant said the accident happened around 12:05 p.m. Party City. So that would be Halloween day. Maybe it was one my parents were telling me about. One 14-year-old girl was airlifted to a local hospital, basically, and it was a woman who was driving. It says the Mercedes was driven by a 35-year-old woman. Again, in where I mentioned, I guess Santa Mays is in Los Angeles by the looks of it. So some really crazy stories. There was another one my parents told me about. I couldn't believe it. I thought that's just like an old myth. Yeah, here it is. I pulled this one up. I looked for it then. Channel 10 News, local. This is my area, somewhere in Philadelphia. Police urge parents to check Halloween candy after needles found in chocolate bars. This is no joke. Local authorities are urging parents to carefully check their children's Halloween candy after what appeared to be sewing needles and pins were found in a half dozen chocolate bars given out to trick-or-treaters treating children in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So it's no joke. It says Sunday afternoon, a 12-year-old turned in a sixth, the number 6 candy bars, a Snickers with a needle in it, and some other things. They're showing actually those Twix bars as well. What kind of demented ass would put fucking literally needles? Now, there's one they're showing a picture of, and it's not a needle. It's like a nail. Well, this is a pinhead. It says Woodbury Heights, New Jersey. Residents Michelle Garwood said the pin or needle was found in a Snickers almond bar that was given to her children during a trick-or-treating. But it looks actually, honestly, it looks like one of those finishing nails. It's not even a needle, because I know what a finishing nail looks like. Believe it or not, I know a little bit about things, but the rest are all needles. And that's really sad. That is really, really sad. Because honestly, I would just eat down on those things. I wouldn't even bother looking at them. They'd be in my mouth and down in my stomach. Unfortunately, it would be already too late. By the time I figured out, wait a minute, why am I internally hemorrhaging now? So I'm just taking a little breather. You know what? I have to comment about this. I think it's really hot, too. Victoria Justice is dressed up like Amy Winehouse, and she looks really good. She really does. I adore, even though she never responded back to me one time when I said something, but she's kind of funny, too. I mean, she's got a good sense of humor, very bubbly sense of humor. But yeah, she dressed up like Amy Winehouse for Halloween. I got to give her credit for that. I'm trying to get these stories not to play, because if I do, then it will be picked up on my radio show. Oh, I'm looking at this. Not that this is a story, but I hope my mother's wrong. Oh, I got to give somebody a happy birthday. Halloween. This woman named Halloween. It's her birthday today. So I got a Halloween. I mean, Holly. She puts up some cool stuff. My mother actually said that she heard that in some interview or something that Lady Gaga said she might stop doing music altogether now. I think that's a little bit of a far stretch if she thinks that she can just get a job just in acting. Maybe she's just taking a break, I hope, from her music career because of, trying to get ready to get married and stuff. I really hope that is the case, because I'd be devastated if she actually, decided to give up music altogether permanently. I don't think she would. As my friend would say, that'd be wishful thinking on my part, because I really don't want to see her do that. I really don't. Yeah, I'm trying to see, because I got to talk about these movies too. Well, I only have a couple stories left. Maybe I can go through these real quick, and I'll tell you the movies that I, either rented or bought. One which I was waiting for a long time finally came out that at least could rent it. And I got a lot of these on iTunes, and I think one I won't be able to watch again. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. And I'll have to look up the name, because honestly, I forget. Maybe I should do it real quick. I'm trying to pull up my iTunes account to see if I can figure out what movies I rented. Purchase, recommend, wish list, pre-order movies, top movies. Yeah, I guess that's kind of weird. They don't tell you. But they did have a lot of cool movies on iTunes. Unfortunately, you got to do what I did. You got to make sure you don't do what I did. I actually rented a movie. It was only 99 cents. I thought, oh, this is really cool. And it's a film on, basically sleep. It's called The Nightmare, sleep disorders. Here, it was on Netflix, where I already got it, where I already paid for it, technically. So I bought it twice, almost. So I got a little bit of my money back. what is the movie I wanted to mention? I can't find it now. I think it's something with the word Halloweeners or something in it. And it got not too great of reviews. You know what I'll do, folks? So I'm going to, since I can't remember, I'll just look under information that I had, my history. And maybe I'll pull it up that way. I know I'm always disheveled, and that reminds me. I'm still off for a good amount of time. I was asking a friend if he would be interested, which I don't know. I'll do it, but down in Philadelphia, an electric factory. I'll pull that up real quick because that's real close on my history. On November 12th, which will be Thursday night, Guar is actually playing down an electric factory in Philadelphia, which would be pretty cool. I just don't know if I really want to make the trip down the city and get all food thrown all over me or rotten stuff, because I know Guar does that kind of stuff. It's like a Rocky Horror Picture live, and so many words or less. But again, I'm trying to look for this movie. I rent it, and it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good. But it was a movie I was waiting for quite a long time. Okay, here it is. It was a movie called The Hellions, 2015. It actually got a date for some reason, 2016. And believe it or not, it's a Canadian film, I think. Sorry, I had to take a swallow again. And it is. It's Helllions. It's kind of not what I expected. Let me put it that way. I think everybody else saw it the same way. Anyway, as I was posting stories for me to read tonight, there's a story I think I might have found. Police say gunman kills 3 in a downtown Colorado Springs, some type of shootout, I guess. I don't know. It was on the 31st. 4 people are dead, including a suspect gunman, following a shooting spree in Colorado Springs on Saturday, which would be Halloween, that ended a gun battle between police and a suspect. Lieutenant Catherine Buckley said officers responded to a report and shots being fired when they spotted a suspect matching the description of a person they were trying to find. Buckley said the suspect opened fire and police fired back. The person was only 21 years old. Colorado Springs Gazette looked outside the apartment window and saw a man shoot someone with a rifle. There's some weird people out there. Always on Halloween, I guess. Maybe like they say, the veils are down with evil and good on that particular day. Obviously, with this particular incident that happened on 31st. I won't go into destroying that story. I don't want to ruin my good intentions on most of the stories, minus that one with the pins and needles in candy. That was kind of quite disturbing. This was pretty funny. I've been finding a lot of interesting, funny things on, of all things, it's actually a Facebook thing, and amongst other things. It's called Funny or Die. Well, they did one where they opened up with John Carpenter talking about it, and they did this. I thought it was really good, and it's called Charlie Brown Blockhead's Revenge. So it's a Halloween version, and it's got the one guy, because I thought he looked familiar, but he actually shaved his head. He's one of the kid actors. He's actually probably in his early 20s, who plays in that TV show called Teen Wolf. I think he plays actually Charlie Brown. And it's like all these hot-looking girls and these guys, they're playing the Peanut characters. It was like, it reminded me of somebody else who did it. It was a guy from Smallville who played Lex Luthor. He did something, and he played Charlie Brown. Was more like a soft core porn. It was on that line, but they did one for Halloween. Different actors doing the parts. And I hate to say it, but it was actually pretty damn funny. So I was watching that. And then there was something else as well. There was a bunch of stories on Funny or Die. I put them all on my Facebook. The ones I went down the list. Some were better than others. trying to see. There was one that was The Girl and the Ghost. Basically, it's a ghost who is very needy, because that's what it says. A young woman discovers a house is haunted by a strange and incredibly needy spirit. It's pretty good. The best one actually was from Funny or Die is The Zombie Solution, where they track down that all the zombies started with a bunch of Jewish people. And it's like, well, we can't do anything about this because it would be politically incorrect to kill zombies that are Jews. And, I mean, yeah, and they actually got some recognizable actors for that. Well, they all have recognizable actors. This one in particular, yeah. But it says, sometimes deciding whether or not to burn zombies' bodies is an awkward conversation just because they were all Jews that were first, what do you call it, patient zero. Well, patient zeros, or the group of patient zero victims that were zombies, were all Jews. So, I mean, yeah, it's pretty bad, but it's actually funny. I'm sorry, it really is. I'm not even just saying that. Another one is Scary. Now, I like this one because I just adore her. She's a cute kid. Chloe Moretz or something. She's the girl who was in Kick-Ass, I think. I can't remember. She's doing a spoof on The Grudge. She plays that ghost. And it says, when horror directors need to feature the ghost of a murdered child, they don't use special effects. They just use that character, and it's played by Chloe. Now, she's usually pretty good. This is, honestly, it's pretty dumb, but it's kind of funny because it's her. I just like her. My favorite one, though, by the way, is the one on Charlie Brown, Blockhead's Revenge, because that one I have up. But there's another one, too, I put up. This one was actually really funny, too. It's Eli Roth and Mena whatever. I can't say her last name. She's really cute. But she plays like an Evil Dead character. And I guess that is Eli Roth. He plays like Bruce Campbell's character. And you have to watch the whole thing. But it says, work through some ghastly relationship in this heart-wrenching tale of love that refuses to die, and it is actually really, really funny. The one, again, the best one, though, is the Charlie Brown one. That one just says, after years of relentless abuse from his friends, Charlie Brown finally snaps in this gritty reboot of John Carpenter, starring the cast of MTV's Teen Wolf. So it is actually all the people from Teen Wolf. I just thought it was just that one guy because I recognize him, the one who played Charlie Brown. I honestly, I don't know why I'm not still watching it, because I do like Teen Wolf. I watched like the first season and a half, and I think it's been on for like 5 seasons now. And honestly, it is really, really good. It was really good. I just don't know what stopped me watching it. So I wish I could answer that. But anyway, yeah, let me go back now that I've finished out my main stories. If I can. When I was mentioning, I kind of lost my track, so I apologize. Oh, here it is, The Hellions. Yeah, that movie got such bad reviews. And the reason is, now, it was funny. It helped me get through this movie a little bit more, this Hellions movie. It says January 25th, 2015. But for some reason, they kept on putting dates on there like it got pushed back to 2016 that they weren't going to release until next year. Now I think they're just not going to release it at all. Well, minus you can rent it. Or buy it if you like to in about a month. Well, anyway, this Hellions movie remind me, like, the people who made this film were obviously heavily influenced by David Lynch, which, by the way, yesterday on TMC, or last night, I should say, early in the morning hours. Wouldn't even be yesterday then. So it would have been yesterday technically, because I said, you're talking like 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe even earlier than that. They were showing all these David Lynch short films. I mean, like, they were 30 minutes long. And they were quite bizarre. Like, one was called The Grandmother. And I'm like watching that, but then I started like I really wanted to see this movie before it got too late. This movie called Hellions, because they were really pushing this movie for the longest time. So I finally got to the point. Is like, you know what? I'm just going to rent this movie because it obviously is not going to come out in the theaters ever, at least around where I live. So, but I looked at it and I was like, this movie has been like hyped up for a long time. Finally, you were able to rent it, and it was like one of these Sundance films, and it got the worst reviews. Like, I think Rotten Tomatoes barely even gave it like even 1 star. It gave it like really bad reviews. So it's like, but I gotta rent this anyway. It looks pretty interesting. I've heard about it for the longest time. This guy named Bruce McDonald made it. The other people are all Canadian actors of some sort, actors or actresses, whatever you want to use, both. And actually, the weird thing is, there's this cop and a character of this cop in the movie, and I couldn't believe it's Robert Patrick, and it was like, this guy looks really familiar, but I thought he was one of these beatnik actors in the movie who made these old bad horror movies. No, he's the good-looking guy from years ago. He was a good-looking guy who was in Terminator 2, was that liquid Terminator. And it was like, this guy really aged horribly. And I saw him in person, I think, either this year or last year. He's a really nice man to talk to. He's really, like, down to earth. But the movie he acted in, Hellions, would be, like, an embarrassment for anybody in some ways. But if you like art films, if you like David Lynch, there is some, like, grains in the film of worth going to see it, or renting it, I should say. You can't really go see it. Now, I'm looking at some review. I pushed open the wrong thing, and it actually gave it, it only goes up to, it says 2.25 stars, but this one reviewer only does 3-star reviews. So, Rotten Tomatoes gave it, literally 1 star. Not even, I don't think. Because I'm looking at it now. Yeah, it's at 18% of the on Rotten Tomatoes. People liked it. It got not even a fresh look, but it got 25%. Like it was okay. 6% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, and Rotten was 18%. So you're not talking anything like that great. But hey, that movie I liked, I'm looking at it right now, Paranormal Activity, got 11% rating. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. So, it all depends on what you think is a good movie and what you don't think is a good film. It's all a matter of taste. And that reminds me, this was a movie I wanted to go see. It was called Scout's Guide to Zombies. I know it looks horrendous, but if I had a free ticket, I would go see it. And I think I have 2 left. But yeah, Hellions reminded me much, heavily influenced, to say the least, of a David Lynch film. It was saturated with the feel of somebody who loves David Lynch. Had very subtle amounts of symbolism, but it was there. Had no real conclusion, but it was really heavily not symbolic, but it was surreal. It was a very surreal movie. It reminded me of, like, you see a film that is like, I think of a video game I played years ago, and this movie was this game that was made into a movie. The movie was horrible that was made out of it. Anyway, was this thing called wow, I'm drawing a blank now. It was some surreal video game. Max Payne. I knew it would come to me. This game called Max Payne. Well, this movie reminded me of not the movie, but the video game. If you ever played this game called Max Payne, and how that was like a surreal type of video game, like this guy, when you played the video game, the whole entire time you would play the game, it was like you were hallucinating. Like the character was always in his hallucinatory frame of mind or something. That's the way the game was portrayed. Well, this movie is exactly the same way. Like, you feel like like you're doing an acid trip when you're watching the film. Now, and I keep an open mind about that because, again, it also heavily reminded me, like I said, of a David Lynch film. Something like David Lynch would have definitely had his hands in if, in this film, I think he would appreciate it to a certain extent. Because it reminds me of like, okay, this is a student of David Lynch. Because I think he does teach classes somewhere now, is what I heard from Kevin Smith. So, which is cool. But the problem was they really did not, well, I don't think David Lynch quite does that either. They didn't really come up with a conclusion for the film. The whole premise of the film, by the way, was this girl was suffering, this girl, was suffering a guilt complex because she was supposed to be 17, not that the actress was, but she was playing a 17-year-old, who accidentally got pregnant from her boyfriend. And where the hallucinations come in is her guilty conscience for being pregnant. So that is this movie in a nutshell. Again, but it's very twisted. It is very David Lynch-like. And for the art perspective of the film, I think it was really well put together. But, I mean, I'm talking strictly from that point of view. But trying to make sense of this film, because this girl, her whole thing was her guilty conscience came in. She's like, okay, I got to abort this child, unwanted child. And the whole time she was feeling guilty about doing so. But her conscience, which actually leads into this film when I said I rented, I think I mentioned the name of it. Yeah, you can only, she was, basically really, really heavily hallucinating, the entire time of the film. And most people, it was even too much for me because I like films that kind of make you think and to a certain level. But I mean, because there's a movie I really loved and still really like it. I haven't seen it in years. It was called Box and Elena, where everything was not what it looked like. It was pure symbolism. And this movie wasn't symbolism. This is more, again, surreal, but it was on the same line that, but this was difficult to figure out what the director was trying to go for, unfortunately. That was the problem I even had with it. So, anyway, I want to see if I can find this other film that I rented. I actually just rented it tonight and watched it. I actually kind of liked it. Not a lot, but I did kind of like it. It's about nightmares. I think I mentioned this before. And it's just because I suffer from this myself. Waking nightmares, though. Yeah, it's called The Nightmare. I just rented that tonight. I wanted to watch it before I actually went online. It's a documentary film, by the way. I'm looking at it still. Yeah, it says Nightmare is a 2015 American documentary film directed by Rodney Asher. The film had its world premiere on January 26, 2015 at the 2015 Sundance Film Fest. So this, again, is like one of those Sundance films. And it wasn't great, but it was pretty good because they're doing interviews with people who have actually suffered the same thing I've suffered from since I was a child. And these people, it started with them when they were children, even infants, where they're having nightmares with their eyes open. And it's a sleep act, that was mentioned in the movie. It says an intriguing documentary horror hybrid centered around the experiences of 8 individuals who have suffered from the mysterious phenomenon of sleep paralysis, which I actually suffer from myself, and it's not fun. Some of the sources that they actually use in this documentary, or they looked up, were the same sources I actually came up with myself that I actually found. So it was kind of intriguing, and the thing that was close to home for me, which makes me actually think a lot of these people, their supposed waking nightmares that they hallucinate seeing shadows and stuff, at least one or two of them were precisely the same thing that I've experienced since I was a little kid. So it makes me wonder, how come different people, and they interviewed people from different countries too, or they did research and they found out the other countries have the exact same nightmarish delusions that keep them from sleeping. And they said that's where actually Wes Craven came up with the idea from these stories, because these waking nightmares could actually kill a person. If you don't get enough sleep, you're going to eventually end up dying. In so many words or less. And this one part of the movie they actually mentioned, that's where Wes Craven came up with the idea, was from an actual story where people were dying from this sleep phenomenon, that could kill a person eventually. So mine are hit or miss. Like sometimes it gets really bad, like my hallucinate. And part of it is stress. They actually asked these 8 people individually in their interviews. They said, "Do you ever seek out psychiatric help?" And they said, some of them said it's not worth it because it's not a psychiatric problem. So it's a hit or miss. It's an hour and a half documentary. It's pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. But it was something I definitely needed to watch because I also suffer from this. Again, it was just kind of weird that they pulled like these sources off the internet, articles that I myself had posted on my Facebook a while back when I found out that this was an actual problem with other people. I didn't know they made a movie out of it as well. Well, documentary film, I should say. These people, I never suffered that, but they actually said they get paralyzed right before they experience these ghosts, or I should say shadowy figures. But they all did experience shadowy figures, which I experienced from when I was like 5 years old or 7. And it was precisely the same thing. So that's what kind of really intrigued me in this film. Now, the difference was the figures had scared these people as children and even as adults. Their demons, as they put it, actually made it past the doorways or their closets, because that's usually, it's some like type of, almost like they were mentioning like another dimension, like dimensions. Like we might be living on more than one plane, not a plane, but of existence. Like we might have multiple planes, and they might be overlapping with each other. That's what they explained in this, and this is where these outer experiences with these shadowy figures may have come. I mean, they give different explanations in this film. But yeah, mine usually came from different homes I lived in. You can't escape this either, because certain people, one girl actually moved into a dorm when she was going to college, and she still experienced the same, no puns intended, dark, shadowy figures. Because I'm watching Dark Shadows, I think, still. Yep. And, I have also. But what was I going to say? I question. I mean, I think it's like a sixth sense, in my opinion, that what I've experienced. I mean, I remember being a kid, and the ones that were mentioned in this film from these different people, all different walks of life, all different areas in this country. Maybe one guy was from England, had the same exact experience as I've had. Some as early, like I said, as before they were, like infants or children. But my experience was for my closet doors, and in the room I've existed in for the past 30 years, 20 years, actually is my door. So, and it's precisely the same figures that these people have experienced, exact same type, at least with some of these people. Now, they never really, subside towards my bed, but these people actually said that these, I guess I can use the word entities, actually tried to not only scare these people, but they actually, intruded their space or whatever. Like they actually were on top of these people. So yeah, that actually, I never had that. I don't even want to experience anything like that, because I think that would be, no puns intended, that would be the death of me. But yeah, I mean, again, for me, I wish I would have known it was only $1, but actually this is pretty impressive, because I'm looking right now, this documentary apparently did pretty fairly well on Rotten Tomatoes. They actually gave it 71%. For a documentary film that people didn't like, means that if, I'm going to look at the reviews in a second on Rotten Tomatoes. So I take that as, no, I don't mean to say that word, but use it as the Bible almost, Rotten Tomatoes on stuff. As the gospel. How's that? Oh, yeah. Tomato meter gives it 71%, but only 43% liked it. So, again, I'm going by what people kind of felt about it, but in some ways, the fact that I could relate to it so much more so than most people, it definitely intrigued me. Average rating was 6.7 out of 10. Reviewers counted 52%, fresh 37%, rotten 15%. So it's 71% on the tomato meter. Critics' consensus on this film of The Nightmare, part documentary, part thriller. The Nightmare works just like well enough in both respects, delivering a uniquely disturbing viewing experience. See, I have to agree with that, because again, I still experience this stuff. I've always experienced this stuff. So why, I don't know. And I mentioned this, I think, a while back on a show, but the thing that really makes me think it's some type of sixth sense experience that I've had in the past is the fact that there was an older couple I might have met. Again, this was a while back, that had passed away, and both the husband and the wife, they lived across from our parish down from where I live in Eagle. It's Visitation Church, and for some reason, before I even knew this happened, I found after the fact, it was around the same time that after a long time of not having any problems with hallucinating or waking nightmares, as they put them. You can put in waking nightmares. You'll find information on this stuff. That I actually saw these two, which actually they did. Actually, now that I think of it, they usually say it is 2 or 3 shadowy figures that these people see at any given time. But the ones I actually saw were rather tall. And I believe they said they were too in this documentary. Now it's giving me chills down my back. But my assumption were it could have been the deceased people who, I don't know if I mentioned this, I did mention in the show, they were actually found in their house. They were actually decomposing in the house. There was a smell of, not to be offensive, but there was a smell of stench from the carcasses decomposing in his house. And nobody knew until they were wondering why this older couple who weren't really being checked on, why they weren't out of their house and why the mail was piling up in newspapers and stuff. So, yeah. So that being said, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's I've experienced most of the stuff that's mentioned in this film. That's what I wanted to say. Let me just type in because I'm getting ready to finish and touch my show. So I apologize. I could wait, but I'm being impatient tonight. So that one was kind of neat, and again, I just saw that tonight, and I figured, well, I'll talk about this a little bit at least, which obviously I'm talking about a lot more than probably what I expected to, but that's good because I'm going to use this as my theme tonight on my show. But folks, yeah, so that was another thing. And again, it's called The Nightmare. If you look at the reviews, like on, I think you'd get it on. I haven't. I think I mentioned before. I have an Xbox One. You could rent it on the Xbox One. You could rent it on iTunes. It's on Netflix right now. But yeah, I wish I would have seen that. Not that it would have changed my point of view. I just find it intriguing that the Rotten Tomatoes thought it was pretty good. So yeah, I guess, by the way, this is another reason why I don't do shows all the time, because I do a lot of humming and hawing. That's not too good. So yeah, so there was that, and I still wanted to go see it. Honestly, there was this film I wanted to go see called The Martian, and I haven't yet. But that was something. If I'm still off for a while, I probably actually will. But yeah, it's hard to believe, folks. It's actually November 2nd now, like I said. But yeah, and the funny thing is, there's still horror movies to come, which is kind of nice too. I think, yeah, and actually, it's funny. There's a movie coming out in January, beginning of January. It's called The Forest, and it makes me kind of laugh because I'm a big Cure fan, and I thought that, maybe it has something to do with the Cure song. It really doesn't. It's a horror movie where people go to die, I guess, or at least commit suicide, according to the film. And it's going to be called The Forest. It's coming out again in January, because I like horror films and thriller movies and supernatural things. And honestly, they're the ones who do they're the films that do the best to begin with. I should actually check that up too. Which movies came in. I guarantee you. Oh, that was another thing. I'm looking at it now. During the Halloween, 2 days of Halloween, I would say Friday and Saturday, there was a lot of horror movies that were made or starred Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi. Now, Bela Lugosi is an okay actor. He was best known, obviously, for his playing Count Dracula. But honestly, I think Boris Karloff was probably a better actor. But let me just check real quick before I end this show. See what Box Office Mojo has to say. That's the one I always use. Yeah, my parents went and seen this movie by Spielberg, by the way. It was called, and Tom Hanks, which actually might have came in. What's this? Actually, weekend estimates. Yeah, it's not good. Oh, Bridge of Spies is where my parents went and seen for their anniversary. That didn't do too bad, actually. Yeah. So, but The Martian actually came in pretty good, I think. Weekend estimates: The Martian, Goosebumps, and Bridge of Spies. I guess they were top listed movies. Sunday estimates was Goosebumps, The Martian, and Hotel Transylvania 2. So if you're interested, for October 30th till yesterday, the movies that came in, number 1 was The Martian. Goosebumps was number 2. Bridge of Spies was number 3. Hotel Transylvania was number 2. Burnt was number 5. The Last Witch Hunter was number 6. And none of these movies made that much money. My movie that I liked, Paranormal Activity Ghost Dimensions, came in 7th, which isn't bad, but it's not saying much. Because, again, these films didn't make that tremendous amount of money, any type of real money. Our Brand is Crisis. Never heard of it. Was number 8. I'll just read a top 10. Crimson Peak came in number 9. Steve Jobs came in number... Crimson Peak came in number 8. Yeah. Number 10 actually then was... If I'm reading these correctly, number 10 was Steve Jobs. Because I'm looking at... the top grossing movie for the week was I think $11 million. So, you're not talking, making a lot of money. The Martian the budget for The Martian was $108 million, but it actually made $182. So that was a profit. Goosebumps, and it barely broke even yet. Bridge of Spies was a $40 million budget. They actually just barely broke profit, in my opinion. Now, this is... they don't give a budget for Ghost Dimensions, which I don't think... Because that's one of those... probably my guess is it probably cost a very few million to make that movie, if even that. And it made about $13 million, I guess. $14 million for a Ghost Dimension, for the Paranormal Activity movie. I'm looking at these films. Some of these just barely broke out, even. Because even the budget for Steve Jobs' movie, I don't know how it could cost so much. Probably paying the actors. Cost $30 million, and it barely made 15. So that's saying that was probably a complete flop. If it barely broke out, making half its money back. That's kind of weird. Oh, that reminds me, that next James Bond movie should be coming out soon, too. That should be pretty interesting. But, folks, I probably ran out of things to say. I'm again, I keep on doing this, but I do truly apologize for all the hemming and hawing I've been doing. Hopefully I can keep people's interest when I do shows. I actually, 2 days ago, would have been the end of my commercializing myself in this, which was pretty funny, in this Colonial Theater. And here it was funny, so to speak, but there was the Halloween party I went to last night. One of the people at this Halloween party at this woman's house was this woman who her name's Luann. She's actually pretty much responsible, in my opinion, for the Colonial Theater, because her name's in the mix of this place. I'm looking it up really quick. Not that it's important. Yeah, Colonial Theater. But when you go to their web link, it actually says her name. I thought it did. So I was going to ask her. She emailed me. I never actually got to see her face to face, and I would have saw her last night. But yeah, unfortunately, they're showing more horror movies this month too, in November than they were in October. But, yeah, if I would have known that, I would have asked her one way, could she reconsider? I mean, and she doesn't have much to say, honestly, on what I could work out. Yeah, Prince of Darkness is actually playing this month. That's a horror movie. There's also this movie, which there's a newer version with the same name called The Stranger. But that was another one. The Stranger, actually, when I think of it, I think of this book written called The Stranger, which was actually made into a song by Robert Smith and The Cure. And it was actually called Killing an Arab, but it was actually based upon a book called The Stranger. But there's a film coming out with that same name, and there was an old film by Orson Welles back in 1946. It's playing at the Colonial Theater called The Stranger, but it has nothing to do, I don't think, with this at all, with this book. But anyway, yeah, it was kind of funny. I was telling the friend, I wish I would have known that. I would have mentioned something to this woman, because I really wanted to see my ad on the big screen. I'm not going to pay $80 to run it again and not have any great response, because at any given time, the most I get from people is on listeners is the same amount as I had before. So that being said, it just wasn't quite worth it. So, folks, I apologize. I've just been trying to make a decent-sized show without driving people too crazy. So, again, if you're listening, I appreciate it. If you feel compelled to do so, or if you can, try to get other people to listen to me too. But, again, it's November 2nd, so I hope you enjoyed my show. At least try to. And I'm signing off for now. I'm not sure. I was off, obviously, for the holiday weekend. I call it holiday weekend. That's what it feels like to me for All Hallows Eve, for Halloween. So if you are tuning in, I appreciate it. And everyone, have a good morning on Monday, November 2nd. Thanks again for listening to the iWalter Show.